There was a pretty strong report from Silvy, information he got that that basically how do I want to sum this up? The dynamic of Ryan Poles, basically Poles getting hired to report directly to George McCaskey was a big reason why he took the job. And that he's not thrilled with the fact that Kevin Warren, once he was hired, the structure changed. And I think he went as far as to say, right, that Poles would not have taken this job if it had been that way.
Yeah, he doesn't like the situation right now.
Now, Carm's guy, the Sears Tower, shot it down.
Tower said it's not true.
So
Tower is, for those people who don't know the Tower, learn the Tower. Tower's got an egg for an avatar on Twitter, and he's got a lot of information. Nobody knows who the Tower is, but I believe in the Tower. And he said this is not true.
So here we are in this world of
what's true,
what's not. Tower versus a radio informational report. Look, here's what I'll say on this. I have, since the moment it happened, thought it was a little bit of a red flag and concerning that you hired your general manager under one structure and then changed that a year later. But didn't find it surprising because, as we know, with the backwards Bears, they do everything backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I did wonder, and they seem to be pretty tight-lipped about this from the beginning. Like, by the way, it was not a secret when they went through this last coaching GM search that Ted Phillips was nearing retirement. Which, again, maybe you should hire the new team president then before you go hire the GM and the head coach. But okay, whatever. You do you, Chicago. Ryan Poles from the very beginning, because I was there among the reporters talking to him outside the auditorium at Halas Hall the day they introduced Kevin Warren, and he did a good job of saying that he wasn't worried about it, that he hit it off with Kevin Warren. And getting back to what Jeremy Fowler was just telling us, I think that's all true. Like, is it human nature to be a little uneasy about the fact that they just hired a new boss for me? Yeah, that would be a little weird. But if he got to talk to Kevin Warren in the process, they hit it off. Up until now, I do think I agree with what Jeremy said, that Kevin Warren has allowed Ryan Poles to do his job with the roster. Kevin Warren has been more concerned with the business side of things and making those hires and making some of the changes he's made towards the top of Halas Hall on the business side of the world, and concentrating on the stadium, which has gone nowhere. But that's what he's been doing.
Right.
And so, but that can all be true and now be changing because, let's face it, this has been a horrible season.
Yeah.
Everything has fallen apart. It's been very concerning. And if you were, like, let's take the names out of it. Like, if you were the guy that were like, I'm going to trust this guy. He believes in this head coach. We're going to stick with the status quo before we make the most important draft pick we've ever made. Number 1 overall, and oh, by the way, another one 8 picks later. And then that went terribly wrong to the point that you had to fire the head coach in the middle of the season for the first time in the franchise's history. It's to me, it's logically possible that these guys have had a great working relationship. But Kevin Warren, who we also known as, a pretty strong personality and has big ideas, might be wielding some of the power that he was given when George McCaskey hired him and said, the GM now reports to you. Or that's where I think we're at.
Yeah, or let's look at the whole picture too. Or it could be he's just annoyed with the McCaskies. There were reports out there that Ryan Poles wanted to move on from Matt Eberflus after the New England game and was told he couldn't do it. That might be on top of Kevin. The Bears would go to buy a car, and they would buy the wheels first, and then they'd buy the doors, and then they'd drive out of there and wonder why the thing doesn't have an engine. Like, It's unbelievable when you consider their process. How do you hire the GM before you know that you're hiring a president? Why the hell wouldn't you hire the damn president and let him hire the GM? It's the equivalent of buying tires before you buy the car. I don't get it. Let me get these tires over here. So in 40,000 miles, we might need them. What? Hello? And then it just dude, if I'm Ryan Poles, who's this guy? What? And now we have this horrible season. I want to fire my coach. These guys over here don't let me. This guy, when we have the press conference, he's doing all the talking. So I'm just going to sit here, mute, and look like a 10-year-old. And then when somebody asks me about Shane Waldron, I'm not even going to be able to think because I'm so angry with the whole organization.
Right.
If Ryan Poles is having second thoughts about working for the Bears right now when he had other options, Minnesota, back in the day, I would understand it.
Right. I'm not getting the hot sauce first before I get my Taco Bell.
Yeah, even you know that.
You get the Taco Bell first.
Thank you.
Then you know how much hot sauce you need in the bag. Because there's nothing I hate worse than when I order a bunch of Taco Bell and they give me 3 packets of hot sauce. Put some more hot sauce in the bag.
Nobody brings it home like this guy. That is so incredibly true.
Thank you. I thought you
hot sauce.
I thought you were very eloquent with your comparison too. I thought I'd add on just to give context so people understand exactly what was said. Shout out to our guy Brendan Shagru from the Bears Wire. He did a nice write up on this, and Sylvie shared on air from someone quote unquote with firsthand knowledge. This is the quote directly from Sylvie on the air yesterday on ESPN 1000. One of the main reasons that Ryan Poles took the Bears job was because he liked the direct reporting nature to the team owner. It was very appetizing to him as a general manager to report directly to ownership. There was no buffer. If he had an issue, he could go right to George McCaskey, right to ownership. When Kevin Warren was hired, he was frustrated with that from the start, that he never loved it. It was not a personal thing with Kevin, but it was something he didn't like, that he went from reporting to the owner to now having to report to a team president who reports to the owner. And he was very vocal about that to people he trusted inside the building, and that maybe he would never have taken the job to begin with.
Well, let me just say one thing.
The only part I push back on it all is maybe that last part.
See, I would push back by the first part. Go, what's your?
You don't think that's entirely plausible?
I just don't understand anybody who would really want to report to George McCaskey. This is such a sweet.
Look at how when he first came in here, how he got Halas Hall, the facilities upgraded. So he saw an issue with Halas Hall, and Ryan Poles was directly credited with the upgrades there. So he was able to go to George McCaskey and say,
I thought you were thinking of Pace.
Was that Pace?
Yeah, Pace.
Okay, I apologize.
You don't have to apologize.
No, I do.
Yeah, apologize.
I do.
Yeah,
I apologize.
Yeah.
And
all these GMs are starting to mold together. My brain is melted.
Well, and the thing, my contention, does he really want to report to George? Maybe he wanted to do that because he just thought George would leave him alone. That's the only scenario that I can see.
But here's what I think matters is when he's interviewing for that job, what was communicated? And I don't know the answers to these questions. I've never been able to really find it out. But did Ryan Poles know Ted Phillips was going to retire? That seems plausible because they changed the structure. And then if that's the case, did George McCaskey say, hey, but obviously that means we're hiring a new team president?
Who you'll report to. Yeah.
And then do they tell him up front, hey, this structure is going to change in a year? And even if that's the case, Poles has to consider that because he doesn't know who they're going to hire. He doesn't know in that moment that Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten, of all people, is going to end up being his boss.
Right, but I think he probably was told, or I would guess that he was told, or I would have wanted to have been told if I was him that, yeah, we're going to hire a team president, but you are in charge of the football. And Kevin wants to be.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So regardless of the politics of how that all played out, the reality of what we saw at that press conference a week ago, things have changed, man. And this is what I keep coming back to. Maybe they should.
Okay.
I think there's a lack of trust here on Kevin Warren for a lot of different reasons, specifically how some of these stadium things have been handled and the wacky press conferences and all that, and I get it. But, you did want Ted Phillips out of here. You did, I did, pretty much everybody did.
I definitely did.
Except for George and the Bears blog. But everyone else did. So
Wow.
So this is what you got. Right? This is what you got.
Don't mess with Jeff Hughes. That's my guy.
Best. Was that not accurate?
Well, we'll never know exactly, who Jeff's sources are. So
that's not even where I was going with that. I'm just going with his takes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does defend Ted.
Regardless, you asked for a new president. Here he is. He's Kevin Warren. Now is everybody apprehensive to let him go to work?
Well, and the thing is that it just surprises me if that is actually the case, because every time I see Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles interacting, it seems like they get along really well. And that's
except for that press conference.
Except for the press conference on Monday. That was the first time where it seemed like Ryan Poles didn't want to be in the same room.
But that's the most recent eveness.
Of course, 100%. But
we used to like each other, and then things changed.
I actually never liked you. The first day I laid eyes on you, I was like, "This."
I agree. I didn't like you either. But
it was hate at first sight.
But then, I warmed up after a period of time, and then went the other way. But okay, keep going. Good point.
Oh man, so yeah, it is. So it is interesting to watch this dynamic. And I think that's why it's like, for me with Kevin Warren, for whatever reason, and maybe it's unfounded, but it's like he's the one guy for me that's giving me hope, because for how Kevin Warren operates, he operates on a business standpoint. And what Ryan Poles has shown, through the Ogunjobi thing, where he said he's in the car on the phone with him crying when they couldn't get it worked out through medicals, or when he's trying to cut Adrian Colbert and he's getting emotional on Hard Knocks. And, having trouble, cutting ties with things or making those tough decisions, I think he lives a lot more off emotion. When they showed the 1920 football drive, during the draft process, and he's like itching and clawing to trade up for Roma Dunze, who ends up falling to him anyway. Like, I think Ryan Poles does live off a lot more emotion versus Kevin Warren, who's a little more strict in what he believes a business model should be. Now, does that mean he's going to 100% get this right and put this organization in the right direction? It doesn't guarantee it, but I think somebody with a cleaner business sense and a direct vision of what his goals are is going to make the hard line decisions that aren't always the easiest. And for whatever reason, that leaves me to look at Kevin Warren as the only hope, as a fan that hopes that they can get this right.
I like that you still have optimism about it.
Well, it's not even optimism. It's like, I feel like it's the only hope.
He's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, he's not Obi-Wan. Like, we're holding on. This is like the door floating outside the Titanic. Is this door gonna save my life? Like,
don't get me into that door.
Well, hold on one second here. Like, let's just.
I would not have let Carm on the door, for the record. He would have drowned.
Thank you. At least you're honest. Okay, so
would Jenny let you on the door, though, is the point.
She would have let me drown.
Okay. So Rose and Jenny are the same.
Yeah, but Jenny was making the right decision. In Rose's case, that was dead wrong, and she should have made room. But regardless of that.
That's not even the worst thing she did in that movie.
What's the worst thing she did?
She had the freaking jewel the whole time.
Yeah.
And then she just chucks it in the ocean. She didn't want to help her new family with that. She knows they're looking for this thing. She doesn't say anything. She's a horrible person.
Yeah, I'm still gonna go. Just need to make room on that door. So
she killed a guy first.
She let,
but then the rest of her life, she had this jewel and she didn't do anything with it. And then she just chucked it in the ocean.
For all the Jacks out there, we feel the pain every day. But look. So let's just.
I still have ODK, by the way.
I understand. Let me just, for 1 second.
I'm ready to go.
Put yourself in George McCaskey's seat.
Please don't make me do that.
And granted, he probably doesn't know what's going on, and he's just hanging out. But in case he does, you got this guy in here. You gave him the keys to the organization. He was supposed to get the stadium done. That ain't happening. You've got your general manager who looks like he is in a Southwest Airlines commercial. You have no idea who your next head coach is going to be. You got your interim guy who shows up, supposed to change things. I would regret even paying for the flight to go out to San Francisco. And at what point, I'm just trying to figure out how this ends. is Kevin here for life no matter what? I think everyone thinks that Kevin wants to be the commissioner of the NFL. Like, that's his end game. So does Kevin, I mean, I guess the perfect scenario would be you get it turned around, you get the stadium, the Bears win the Super Bowl, Kevin leaves, he's the commissioner. That's like the perfect path. But what's the likely path here? Like, if you had to bet how this ends with Kevin Warren and the Bears, what's your guess? That's
not with a Super Bowl.
I mean,
Hopefully with a stadium.
Stadium, no.
If it ends with no stadium,
no Super Bowl, and like
he won't leave before the stadium is at least on its way.
Okay. So he has it on its way, and you have some bad stadium deal, and he goes out the door and he becomes the commissioner of the Horizon League. Is that what's coming? Like, what is going to happen here? At any rate,
I'm terrified. That's for sure.
Like, we're not. I mean, I'm sure it'll turn left here, and we'll just start heading in the right direction again here. But right now, it's like, if this keeps going this way, what is the ending here?
I remember thinking that. I don't know.
George McCaskey is the guy on the Titanic that's like, this ship can't sink. They're like, no, it definitely can. It is going to.
4 compartments, George. 4 compartments. It's a mathematical certainty.
Titanic analogies are pretty good. All right. Well,
and Kevin Warren they're playing the violin.
And he's going to be the one jumping on the lifeboat. That'd be the same guy. Right. Maybe they'll be on different lifeboats. All right.
I don't know what Carm said either, Chad, for that whole time. But
we all silly like the mayor.